Marcus Thompson had been struggling to make ends meet as a single father when he decided to rent out the spare bedroom in his modest two-story house. But he never expected the young woman who would answer his advertisement. At 32, Marcus worked 2 jobs to support his 6-year-old son Tyler while maintaining the small home they had inherited from his grandmother. The extra income from a boarder would help with Tyler's school expenses and the constant repairs that an older house demanded. The woman who knocked on his door that rainy October evening looked nothing like the college students or young professionals. He had expected she appeared to be in her early 20s, with wet hair clinging to her face and clothes that suggested she had been walking in the storm for hours. Most concerning were the tears she tried to wipe away as she stood on his front porch. "I saw your advertisement for the room," she said quietly, her voice barely audible above the rain. "I can pay first month's rent in advance if you have space available." Marcus studied her face, noting the exhaustion and desperation that she was trying to hide behind a facade of composure. "Come inside out of the weather," he said gently. "We can talk about the room once you warm up," as she entered his living room. Marcus noticed Tyler peeking around the corner with the curious attention that 6-year-olds gave to unexpected visitors. "Tyler, come meet our guest," Marcus said, understanding that his son's presence might help the young woman feel more comfortable. The woman knelt down to Tyler's eye level with natural ease. "Hello there," she said, her voice becoming warmer. "What is your name?" "I am Tyler," his son replied with the directness of childhood. "Are you going to live in our extra room?" "I hope so," the woman said, glancing up at Marcus. "My name is Emma, and I am looking for somewhere safe to stay." Marcus found himself making a decision based more on instinct than practical consideration. "Emma," he said, "why do not you sit down and tell me about your situation? The room is available, but I want to make sure this arrangement will work for both of us." Over the next hour, Emma shared what she was willing to reveal about her circumstances. She had recently left a difficult family situation, she explained, and was starting over with limited resources. She needed a safe place to live while she looked for work and rebuilt her independence. What Emma did not share was that her real name was Emma Sterling, and that she was the daughter of tech mogul Richard Sterling. Her decision to leave her father's company and his controlling influence had come after years of feeling like a prisoner in her own wealthy family. The fight that had driven her from home had been about her refusal to marry the business partner her father had chosen for her. Emma had walked away from a multi-million-dollar inheritance rather than continue living a life that felt like an elaborate prison. Marcus listened to Emma's carefully edited story with the understanding that everyone had reasons for keeping some parts of their past private. What impressed him was her obvious intelligence, her natural way with Tyler, and the determination he could see beneath her current vulnerability. "The rent is $400 a month," Marcus said finally, "which includes utilities. You would have access to the kitchen and living areas, and Tyler and I are usually pretty quiet neighbors." Emma pulled an envelope from her jacket containing cash she had withdrawn from her personal account before leaving her father's house. "I can pay 3 months in advance," she said. Marcus shook his head. "1 month is fine, Emma. Whatever you are running from, I hope you find what you are looking for here." Over the following weeks, Emma proved to be an ideal housemate. She kept to herself, but was always pleasant, helped with household chores without being asked, and formed a gentle friendship with Tyler that brought joy to the little boy who missed having a mother figure. What surprised Marcus most was how naturally Emma fit into their simple routines. She would read to Tyler while Marcus finished work in the evenings, helped with homework when Marcus was delayed at his second job, and somehow managed to make their modest meals feel more like proper family dinners. Emma, for her part, discovered something she had never experienced in her wealthy upbringing: the satisfaction of contributing to a household through effort rather than money. She learned to cook simple meals, helped Tyler with art projects, and found peace in the uncomplicated rhythms of their daily life. When Tyler came down with flu that required someone to stay home with him, Emma volunteered without hesitation, caring for the sick child with patience and skill that impressed both Marcus and Tyler's pediatrician. "You are very good with children," Marcus observed, as Emma helped Tyler with the soup she had made from scratch. "Have you considered working in childcare or education?" Emma smiled, thinking about the business degree she had earned but never been allowed to use meaningfully. "I have always enjoyed helping children learn and grow," she said. "It feels more worthwhile than most other work I have done." 3 months into their arrangement, Emma's carefully maintained privacy began to unravel when a black SUV appeared outside their house. Her security detail, hired by her father to monitor her whereabouts, had finally tracked her down. Marcus was working in his small home office when he noticed the expensive vehicle parked across the street. The men inside wore suits and sunglasses that suggested either law enforcement or private security. "Emma," he called out, "there are some people outside who seem to be watching the house. Do you know anything about this?" Emma's face went pale as she looked out the window. "I need to tell you something about myself that I should have shared earlier," she said quietly. Before she could continue, there was a firm knock at the door. Marcus opened it to find 2 men in expensive suits flanking an older man whose bearing suggested wealth and authority. "We are looking for Emma Sterling," the older man said without preamble. "I am her father, and I believe she has been staying here." Marcus looked back at Emma, who stood frozen in the hallway. "Richard Sterling," he said with recognition. "I have seen your face in business magazines." Emma stepped forward with dignity intact despite her obvious distress. "Hello." Father Richard Sterling's expression showed surprise at the modest surroundings. "Mr. Thompson, I presume I want to thank you for providing shelter for my daughter, though I am sure you understand this arrangement cannot continue." "Actually," Marcus said with quiet firmness, "that depends entirely on what Emma wants. This is her home for as long as she chooses to stay here." Emma looked at Marcus with gratitude that went beyond words. "You would stand up to him for me?" Marcus nodded. "Emma has been part of our family for months. She helps care for Tyler, contributes to our household, and has earned the right to make her own decisions about where she lives." The conversation that followed was tense, but ultimately productive. Richard Sterling gradually understood that his daughter had found something in Marcus's home that his wealth had never provided: genuine acceptance, meaningful purpose, and the freedom to be valued for her character rather than her inheritance. When Emma finally told Marcus the complete truth about her background, including the inheritance she had walked away from, Marcus's response surprised her. "I fell in love with the woman who reads bedtime stories to Tyler and makes soup when he is sick," Marcus said quietly. "The money you left behind does not change who you are here." They married 2 years later in a ceremony that celebrated their unconventional love story. Emma's father, who had gradually come to respect Marcus's integrity and his daughter's happiness, walked her down the aisle with genuine pride. Emma never returned to her father's business empire. Instead, using her education and experience to help Marcus expand his handyman services into a successful home renovation company. Together, they built a life based on mutual respect, shared values, and the understanding that true wealth comes from love rather than bank accounts. Years later, when people asked about their unusual beginning, Marcus would say that sometimes the most valuable people come into our lives when they have lost everything else, because that is when we can see their true character most clearly. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales of unexpected kindness and the power of human connection.